And we are here with the famous La Loca. Annabelle is here to join us and tell us all about all these amazing strategies that she has for world language teachers to get closer to our goals. The whole reason why we are here towards more target language in our classrooms. Give it up, y'all. The unicorn is with us. We are so excited. So
Thanks
tell
for
us
having me.
about yourself and your classroom.
So my name is Annabelle Williamson, but most people don't even know that's my name because they just call me Loca or La Loca. I have been teaching 9 years, and I've been very fortunate to only ever teach for proficiency using CI strategies. I've never had to teach with the textbook or using any legacy methods. I've been very fortunate in that. I consider my classroom a place of joy where students are really experiencing and communicating in the classroom every day. And by communicating in novice levels, that's literally interpreting the language that they're hearing and interacting with it. So I love what I do, and I think that it's really empowering for teachers of world languages to actually experience using the language in their classroom, and then like super rewarding when the students start feeling confident enough to take risks with it themselves and making meaning with the language we're giving them. It's really powerful.
That is so powerful. So there's a huge gap that a lot of teachers have from jumping from the teacher who stands in the front of the room, kind of talking at students, to getting to that nitty-gritty of working with language with their students. How did you get to that point that you're at now, being an experienced teacher who gets to work with students every day and creating that atmosphere of joy? How did you get there? And how do you think other teachers can get there too?
I think that it starts with creating safety, and a lot of that is acknowledging that this is really weird and really different, and it's nothing like any of their other classes that they take, and that literally in order to be successful in your world language classroom, they have to listen with their eyes and the ears, and it's going to feel sometimes like it's almost like teaching them to be comfortable with ambiguity, because for so many students, they're so used to there's a black and a white, a right and a wrong way to do things. When I'm spelling something, I have to do it right. When I'm writing a sentence, it has to be grammatically accurate. Whereas if you're really like thinking about language acquisition as we're supposed to, which is how do babies acquire, everybody should acquire in the same way, no matter what age our students are. Students need to get comfortable with the idea of, if you think I'm saying whatever, I'm just trying to think, like today I was talking about culture clash, and I literally had students with me at the front of the room acting out this scenario of my parents asking me, like, whenever you go anywhere, you are respectful by clearing your plate, cleaning your plate. And in China, I had them act out a scenario with me, showing that it's actually disrespectful to clear your plate because it's saying I'm still hungry, I want more. So there was a lot of on my new students' faces, like you can see if you're teaching to their eyes, you could see them physically tense up, like they're really not sure. And so you slow down and taking a second to split into English and saying, if you think you know what I'm saying, you're probably right. Go with that first instinct. I'm going to repeat it all again. And then you see them loosen up a little bit and get a little bit more comfortable. And then you say, tell your neighbor real quick what I was saying. So there's my English bits. That's where like the 10% comes in. I'm not necessarily doing the English. I might do 1-2% once we're really in the nitty gritty. But really, I leave the English to them real quick to solidify and get confident. Like, oh my God, that's what I thought she was saying too. Okay, great. And it takes less than 5 seconds for them to do that. And then boom, they're with me. They're totally loose now. They're like, I just needed the reassurance from a partner that I understood what you were saying. And then that kind of falls away because they just get comfortable knowing, okay, what I'm thinking is correct. What I'm thinking is correct. And it just becomes like truly conversational. It's like they're with you in the language and they don't even realize we're in another language because they're enjoying the conversation and enjoying whatever we're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, just trying to get what bits and pieces that they can. That makes so much sense that you say that, because a lot of times when teachers ask about 90% target language, they're trying to figure out what's the 10% then? Like, what is that little bit that I am going to use? And that makes a lot of sense that you're going to use that English in order to, we're going to use this to make sure that you're comfortable with the ambiguity that we are going to create. That moment happened today in class. I remember looking around being like, okay, I'm in it. I'm making this target language series. I guess I have to use lots of target language in class now, and try to make sure that I stick to my guns, playing a game and trying to explain it in French. And we've played it before, but it's been a minute. And they were all looking at me like they had no idea what was going on. So I'm going to use that tomorrow. Be like, okay, check with each other. Do you remember how to play this?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be my English.
And it's really good too to like also like if it's instructions. For me, anytime I teach a new brain break, if they're novices, I do it in English. I'm not going to take the time. It takes me 60 seconds to explain it. But once they know things like you're going to get up, you're going to form a circle, or you're going to form two lines, you have one partner. Like after several weeks, they have that language. They really do. The class stands up. The class forms a circle. So much of it is cognates. So I can do so much of the instructions in Spanish with one person modeling with me, a strong student modeling. Mm-hmm. And then that's called interactive modeling. You just do interactive modeling in the target language. Then you have them real quick do it. You'd notice if anything's different. And then before you have them actually play the game, that's a perfect opportunity. If you still see like 4 or 5 kids like face look confused, it means 10 or more are. Some kids are just really good at hiding it. But if you still see that, all you have to do is say, ¿Quién? Or I do it in Spanish, but who can explain? I always say it in Spanish. Who can explain in English? Who can explain in English? And then I put up 10 fingers, and then I pick a person who I know is going to be able to do it, like one of your top 5, 6 people. And then I go 10, 9, and I'm counting down. They only have 10 seconds to explain what we're doing in English. And then once I hit 0, we all just do it.
Oh, I love that. It's genius. Time
limit. Because sometimes kids just need, again, they know what's going to happen. They've watched it. They're just not confident enough in themselves yet to trust that they know what's going to happen. So hearing it from a classmate who is like, yeah, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to get in a line, and then when Maestra yells cambia, we're going to run around, and then we're going to have a new partner, and all we're doing is facing off, trying to do the gestures faster than the other person. 10 seconds done, and I'm like, perfecto, gracias, moving on. Yeah, ready, go. So it's worth the clarification, because it makes everybody feel safe, comfortable, and then you can move on. Which is that safety is the number one most important thing for students to feel if they're going to start taking risks and actually using the language in our class. If they don't feel that safety and that comfort, no shot. And that's okay. You can build it. You can still build it. It can still happen. But it won't happen until they feel truly safe. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question then, because I've experienced this before, where I've had, since you've probably experienced this too, where you teach like multiple class periods. Some class periods, I've had that experience before where they're like, oh yeah, I'm so in it. I'm totally into this. There's all of that trust. And they're like, throw it at me, man. I'm so ready. And other class periods where they're like, no, there's so little trust there. How do you pull it out of them or build it out of them on days where they're just like, they're not with you at all? What do you do on days when things just blow up in your face? I had a couple of classes like that today. You have to do a total reset. And by reset, I go back to reminding them, like, first week, what did we talk about? How does this work? How does my classroom work? How does it feel in here? When I'm speaking in Spanish, why do I need you to be in Spanish with me? And then, and even going back to, what does it mean to be in Spanish? Because when I say in Spanish, I'm not requiring anybody to speak in Spanish, except for choral responses. I'm never going to be like, Devin, what should happen next? Give me the next sentence. Never going to do that, because that's super forced output. You're not ready. and talk about making it feel like intense, not only for Devin, but for the two people sitting next to her, like, she's cold calling me to speak in the target language, what?
Yeah.
But I remind them, what does that mean? And they say, it means we're listening to you speak in Spanish. And I'm like, and you're at what? Level 0. Level 0 just means they're silently listening unless I'm asking for responses, right? So I remind them of what that looks like. But then kids of all ages need to know the why and need to be reminded of the why. Because if you just say, I can't speak Spanish if you're speaking in English, they need to know the why. And so I say, your brains, brain science shows your brains can't focus on the second language I'm giving you if your brain is hearing your neighbor speaking English or focusing on you speaking English, even if it's related to what we're doing, which most, and teachers need to be aware of that too. So often we get really frustrated and amped up, hyped up, and like, because they're having these side conversations. 90% of the time, especially if you're being compelling, the side conversations are about what you're doing. So shutting them down too hard, too fast, is the kids are just going to be like, what the hell? Like, I was talking about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of times it's just them like confirming with each other, or even just saying, oh yeah, I think that's super cool too. Like a real quick, because they're into whatever you're talking about. So props to you for being compelling. Props to you for being comprehensible. Now we just need to draw them in and be like, I can tell a lot of you are engaged in what I'm doing and your side conversations are about what we're doing, but your brains aren't going to get enough out of that. We got to stay in Spanish. We got to stay in Spanish because that's the only way your brains are going to acquire. So I had to do 3 hard resets today in English. And Mondays generally are really tough. Beginning of the year is really tough, especially on Mondays, like resetting from the weekend. But then an immediate, as soon as you do a reset, huge big praise the second you get what you want. Giant. See, that's what I'm talking about. Super bien. Que fantastico. Wow. High fives. You know, super excited that when they're meeting it. And then anytime anybody takes a risk, if it butchers the language so bad, run over, high fives, praise galore, just focus on how amazing it was that that child opened their mouth in Spanish or in French or in German, because then immediately after that, kids are going to be like, whoa, I can do that. And some kids who heard like, ooh, that actually sounded bad, because some kids will hear it right away and be like, that does not sound like Maestra says it. They'll be like, I can definitely do that, and I can probably even push myself to do better than that. It's going to make them feel so brave to start taking those risks. Yeah, sorry, I'm so wordy.
So exciting.
You know me. So.
Love it. That's great.
Okay.
So you told us a lot about like what the beginning of the year looks like. Then tell us about like when it starts, what happens in November, like when kids are starting to get used to it, when it starts getting rolling. What do your activities look like in November?
So I always do the same stuff all year round. It's just like a variety of strategies that are covered under the CI umbrella. Clip chats and tons and tons of personalization regardless of what we're doing, picture talks. I love teaching legends, lots of embedded culture. Whatever I'm doing though, when we're into the nitty gritty is when I really push my students on circumlocution, especially like it was much later than I thought it was going to be last year. I didn't really introduce it until January, but I'm used to doing it after the first 8 weeks. But I'm in a much harder school right now. So I introduced it in January last year, and we've already started using it a lot with my 6th graders who had me for a year last year. Most of them had me for a year. And they're just starting to do it naturally because they want the environment to be in Spanish, because they've had me for a year, not every day for a year, but they've had me. They know that that's my expectation of myself, and they know I go crazy when they try. So like during a do now the other day, a little girl said, no, no es pizza, no es pizza, es muy grande y es para cumpleaños. So she was saying it's not like a pizza, but she's like, it's very big. And then she goes, es círculo y círculo, círculo, círculo y cumpleaños feliz y. And I was like, oh my God, she's trying to say cake. But at no point did she say, ¿Cómo se dice cake? At no point did she say, ¿Cómo dit-on cake?
Yeah.
She just kept going with, okay, I know how to say pizza, I know how to say round, I know how to say birthday. And it was just so cool. And of course, I literally dramatically fell on the floor and flopped around.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh. And then I pointed up to the circumlocution poster and I said, Clase, Isan usó used circunloquio. Increíble. And then immediately after, another kid, we were talking about weekends and what we did or what we ate. Another kid said, yo, agua muy grande, no océano. And I said, wow, you swam in a pool, una piscina? And he's like, sí, sí, sí. So I drew a piscina, wrote up the word piscina. And then what happens is I don't like to introduce too many out of bounds words, like those extra words like pool or cake. But it is so much more sticky for a kid to do the work of circumventing or circumlocuting what they didn't know, to then be like, Maestra draws a pool on the board because she understands you and writes piscina. Because now it's sticky. I'm like, I worked for that. And it's amazing. It needs so many less repetitions. It needs because it's meaningful. It has meaning to them. And it matters because they worked for it.
Oh, yeah.
So once I'm into it, I really push circumlocution. Anytime I hear como se dice, I'm not rude about it, but I say, oh, como se dice? I say, clase, como se dice bear in Espanol? Because nobody knows. I know what they know. And unless they've read it in an FBR book, then I know that they don't know the word bear. So then I have them all help each other. Como se dice? How could we say it? Using the Spanish we know. Yo no sé. Un animal grande, un animal que hace y se duerme. And then eventually I'll give them oso, fine, but it's the fact that they're working together and showing each other how to circumlocute. Because I remind them, like, I'm not going to be with them in their pockets whenever they go to Ecuador or Mexico or Spain to be able to pull out and be like, Maestra, como se dice? They're going to have to use the language they know, So, and then they feel super, like, powerful and cool. And, like, I just stayed in Spanish and Maestra understood what I was saying, and I didn't even close to say the word I was looking for. I just used a billion other words around it to make her understand.
Talk about higher level thinking skills and so empowering too.
I mean, it's what we do when we travel, right?
Yeah.
It's what we do. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I know everybody wants a piece of La Loca and her knowledge, so we'll let you go off to all the other people who want to talk to you as well. But fue un placer. Me encantó tanto. I feel so lucky that you got to be part
teach French and Spanish then, Devin?
Yeah.
People like you. I just want to be you when I grow up. It's so cool. One day.
Yeah.
One day. I'm just like dreaming. Like, I just think it's so neat when I meet people who are like linguists, who are like in it, It's so cool. Your students are super lucky. Well, thank you all, whoever's watching this at any time. I'm really grateful to you, Devin. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Yay.
Yay.
I'm grateful to be your student. I'm her student, you guys.
I'll say one more thing, too, that I think is really important. If you are providing comprehensible language to your kids and you're staying in the target language more than you did a year ago, you're doing a great job, because this is really hard work. And I think a lot of people see videos online of of teachers who've been doing this a while. I've literally been doing this for 9 years, right? So people see this and they go, God, how does she, and how are they staying? My brain is working 100 billion miles an hour, and it is not easy. And I have worked my ass off to get as far as I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm still like, oh, that was a hot mess. Where can I go from here? My brain is like moving 100 miles an hour, just like y'all's are. I've just been doing it longer. So I know, okay, from here, I can easily pull in Cuesta. And then I can link that to the Senior Woolly video tomorrow, maybe. And then next week, I can loop back in from like dollar street food around the world, because we're doing eats. And like, I have this arsenal of ideas that I can loop in, but it has taken me so long to get here. And when I'm in the thick of it, December-ish, I'm 95% target language. But if you are doing 50% and you used to do 40, yay.
Yay.
Keep building it. Keep building. It'll get easier and easier.
We needed it. We needed it. So true. Yeah. No guilt, y'all. Only self-love. That's what we need. Mm-hmm.
You'll get there. It's really important to watch videos and be like, oh, I'm so far. Nope. Yep. It has taken me a long time and a lot of practice and a lot of work. And I did not used to be 90% target language right from the start. That was even me, like, this is all I've ever done. That's me learning how. And it's a long road, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. Well, that's a big part of the series, is being like, we need to acknowledge this gap. Like, everybody's like 90%, 90%, 90%. That's funny. Like, that's 9 out of 10 sentences, y'all. Like, there's a gap. So we're gonna try and move along that gap, acknowledge where you're at, try and get better, steal the tips that you can, but be honest where you're at. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Devin, so much. I am so grateful. I'm grateful that you're doing this for people.
I'm grateful for you and all of your tips.
Yay. Awesome. Have a great night.
Bye. You too.
Bye.